Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and today is our Digital Wednesday. Just remember, I have some projects I have to get done, so I'm gonna be less videos than usual, but we'll get back in it when I get all caught up. So if you want to, while I'm explaining what we're gonna do, you can take a screenshot of this and just bring it into Photoshop and just trace over it, like make a separate layer called lines and just trace over it, and then you can follow along with the coloring process. But we're going to use this image right here. This is an image that my daughter's friend wanted me to redraw in my style. As you can see, it's a very anime-esque looking image. It's pretty good. But she wanted me to try to redraw it in her style, so that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to go ahead, and I've already redrawn it. I changed up the pattern to be a little bit more simplistic compared to just to save me time, not to have to draw every star and thing on there. But yeah, this is my version of what I wanted to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this magic wand and I am going to click on the outside and get this little piece inside there. Okay, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to hit this mask key down here. And what that'll do is prevent me from going outside the lines. And then all I'm going to do is give it a base color. So we'll just go for like a peach color for now. Actually, let's do more like a red orange. No particular reason for it. Oops. So before you hit that mask key, let's go back. Just hit Command Z or Control Z on your computer. Let's go back to the selection thing. First thing you need to do after you've added your new layer, we're going to select Inverse. Then we'll create a mask. We'll call this Base Color. Okay. Make sure you're not still on the mask. Make sure you're over here. And then we'll fill that in with our base color there. You can see it kind of went outside the line a little bit, but that's okay. You can adjust the tolerances and stuff like that. So what we'll do is we're going to make a new layer, and what I can do is just hit Command, right, and I can just go and we'll call this dress. Okay, and I can have that same area kind of selected again and just hit a mask, and then just come in here, and we got kind of a dark green tone. Make sure you're not on the mask layer, but we got kind of like a dark green tone here. So we're going to kind of go down to that deep tone. I'm just going to use a regular brush tool here. I'm kind of going for a darker forest green right now. And I'll just go around and we'll fill in the dress. And it's okay that we're painting over the pattern, and I'm just going to zoom in just so I can get as close as possible. But it's okay that we're painting over the pattern because that's just going to be a separate layer on its own. And the reason that I'm doing this, and you may have seen other people's videos where they do it the same way, if you split up the colors and just kind of come back to it later, you can switch colors out, so it becomes a lot easier for you to change things. So like if you didn't like the color of the dress, you could just go in and paint bucket fill it, and it won't affect any of the other layers that you have going on. So we're just going to paint all that in. Don't want any inside the skin right now. And you can see how it just makes it easier to not go outside the lines that way. So we're just going to finish filling that in. And again, I'm just focusing on the dress itself, not the belts or anything else, just the dress. Okay, so just finish painting that in, and then I'll show you what we'll do to make it easy, make it easier for you to change the colors out. And I'll give you an example. We won't leave it that color that I change it. I just want to, be able to show you how that would work. And by doing everything on a separate layer too, like let's say we add in shadows and lights and stuff, with those being on separate layers, again, you can change the colors out without altering anything that you've done. Okay, so again, I want to make sure if I do go outside, I just erase out any of that that's in there, and just stick with the parts of the dress that are green. Okay, so like right in here, we kind of paint it over. I want to knock that back just a little bit. Then we just got to get this middle section right here. And like I could just take the lasso tool and separate out each layer, but again, this method will help you save time. So if I come in, just finish that up. Okay, so if I come in right now and I come to mask and just click on the mask and hit delete, just hit apply, right? And then I come in and take my color picker and just get the greens that I have in here. You'll see how it just has the dress selected. I can come in and add in a new mask, right? And now if I wanted to change the dress to, I don't know, red, make sure you're not on your mask. If I want to change it to like a red color, I can just take my paint bucket and boom, it'll only fill in those spots that I need filled. Okay, so I'm just going to hit back and do it that way. Now she has black belts, but I don't like to go like jet black, right? So we're going to come down to this kind of dark area. I'm going to create a new layer. We're going to say belt, and I'm going to hit command and click on that mask, and again just put the mask on there. Make sure you're clicked on your layer, and we're going to have our little black coloring, and we're just going to come into the spots that are black, and you'll see it's a black looking color, but it's more of like a black gray. Okay, so that way when we put shadows and stuff on there, it won't be the same color, because if you just use jet black, it'll just stay that same color, and it won't really stand out when you do the rest of it. So again, we're just going to fill in those black areas. Okay, and then we have another black area that we're going to do. It's this area around the chest. So that I don't want to start with there. So we just have that little neck piece that comes around. We'll just fill that in. Just make nice and tight. Okay, so we have our belt. Even though we called it belt, it includes the shirt as well. So again, I can come over here, delete that mask off, hit apply, then come in with my magic wand, pick those colors, hit a mask, and again, if I wanted to change it, I'm going to pick a color and go in there and change each one, right? That doesn't affect the rest of my picture, okay? So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new layer, and we're going to call this skin, and we're just going to go ahead and get the skin color in here. Again, I'm going to hold command and hit the mask on that and apply it just so I don't go outside the line. I'm going to kind of come down to this red orange area. Make sure you're not on your mask. Okay, and then she has a very pale skin tone, so we're going to kind of go for this light peachy color. And then I'm just going to come in here, and simple as that, we can just color in what we need. Now I'm going to go a little darker just because when we add the lighting effects, it'll kind of give it a better look. Kind of went outside right there. Okay, so we're just going to fill that in. Okay, come back out, go to this other hand. And the other thing that would be nice too, when we're done, we won't need that base layer, that I could just turn that off and just have the colors that I need. We'll just color that in. Those spots that I went outside on, just erase those out. I'm going to come down to this base layer. See that little bit of orange that's sticking out? I'm just going to erase that. Alright, so I'm going to come back to skin and go up here to the top, and we can see our shoulders are exposed. So we're just going to come in here. Just paint the skin in there, and then we can come down here through to the neck, and we can start coloring in our face. Okay, so for now I'm just going to color the whole thing. We're going to change, some things with like the lip colors, but for now we can just put a flat base skin tone in there. Okay, so just fill this in. And again, if you have any spots where you kind of run over, it's fine. Just erase them out. Okay, so we'll just finish filling in our head. Make sure we got every spot filled in. So that's where you gotta kind of look close. Look for those oranges bleeding through, and just kind of make sure you get those. And then any spots you may have gone outside on, just erase those out. I think that should do it. Okay, and then we just gotta get our ear. Alright, now we're gonna do another layer. I'm gonna call this hair. But before we do that, let's come back, let's pick the skin layer and delete the mask. And get our magic wand and pick our skin tones. Actually, you know what? Let's just go back. We actually forgot. I shouldn't say we, because you're probably screaming at me right now on the video. Hey, you forgot the legs. That would be something smart that we need to make sure we fill in too. So let's do that real quick. Make sure we get as close to the lines as we can without having any orange bleed through. And again, if we go outside the line at all, just clean it up with an eraser. Let's come down to these feet. And again, if you see me adjusting my brush size, if you're new to the channel, use the bracket keys on your computer to increase and decrease the size. Okay, so we'll just fill that in. Make sure you get close to the edge, and then again, just clean up anything that should not be there. Alright, let's back out and look. There we go. Now we got our skin. So now I can delete that mask. Get my color picker tool. Just pick my skins and make a mask out of that. Again, you could turn her into an alien if you wanted to and give her blue skin. It's completely up to you. So now we're going to do hair. I'm going to hit Command and get my mask back on that. And create a new one here. Now if you look, it's kind of like a lime green almost. Very bright paled one. So we're going to come up into this area. Now I'm not going to go full pale because I want that to kind of show up with the light. So I'm going to stay up here more towards this green. And then I can just simply come in and color the hair. Actually, let's bring this, we'll come back to this pale and we'll come down to a darker one right here. Like that. Okay, now certain spots like on the base here, or right here at the eye, it's kind of bleeding out. I'm going to erase that out and just make sure you go back to your hair layer. And we can start finishing our coloring in of the hair. Just make sure you go around the earring parts. And again, if you happen to go outside, just quickly fix that with the eraser tool. Okay, so we'll keep filling our hair in. Like that. And we're almost done. Last thing you have to do is the eyebrows. Okay, so now we have our hair complete. Again, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to delete out the mask. Get my color picker, my magic wand tool, and create a new mask there. Oops, I forgot. Let's go back. Let's pick that as well. Now we'll make a mask. There we go. Okay. So again, that allows you to do different things. If you didn't like the green and you want to go for a blue hairdo, you can quickly change it out. That's why we're doing it that way. Okay. So we got two more things to do. We're going to do the sandals and actually three. We're going to do sandal, eyes, and earrings. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the eyes. So we're just going to call this eyes. And go ahead and switch to a darker white, probably something like a white gray. Again, on the other side. Okay, and then for eye color, we have a green as well. Okay, so we're going to kind of start in the middle with our green. And then something we can do to make it look like it has the reflection. You can see I kind of cut out that circle in there, so now I can just come in here and put the reflection on the eye, so when we zoom out, we can see it on there. Now, if you notice, I didn't put a mask on there, and the reason why is because it's a smaller area. I can just pick all of this in the eye. Oops. And then I can just add my mask on there, right? So again, if you didn't like the eye color, you got to be careful, because then you would just come in here and get a paintbrush if I wanted to go blue, and you could just paint over that and just bring that white back. It's completely up to you. Honestly, I think we'll just delete the mask. It's really not necessary. Certain things, when you're looking at it up close though, like with the hair, I see some spots that I'm missing, so you can go back to those layers and fill those things in. Any orange spots like here on the skin, you miss some spots here in the eye, spots sticking out in the ear, and that's just kind of me being nitpicky and making sure. So if yours is already nice and solid, you don't have to worry about it. It's just one of those things, it's like it's bugging me right now. So I need to fix it. Alright, so now we're going to do the earrings since we're up here. And we're just going to do a gold. color for that. So we're going to kind of come in between orange and yellow, go a little bit on the brighter side. Actually, let's take that down and we'll make it darker. Okay, and again, since it's tiny, we don't really need to make a mask for it. Now we're going to come down here to sandals. Sandals. Um, she didn't really color those in, so I'm going to guess that they're kind of like the wooden ones, like you see some Asian feudal Japan stuff kind of wear. Um, so I'm going to kind of go for a wood color here. We'll just fill those in, and again, you don't have to do the mask part as far as like hitting command and picking the old mask, because I can just pick this small area. So let's see what that looks like. I think that looks okay. Excuse me for the cough, just kind of came out of nowhere. And we'll do that same kind of black. Come down here. Use that a little bit. I'm gonna come back down to skin. Pick that. Get those little flecks of orange that are in there. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. Let's just keep with the black on the sandals. And then we'll use our picker. Just create a mask with that there. Okay. So again, if you wanted to change the colors, you could. If you did like the wood, and you want to go back and change it to a wood color, it's easy as that, and then you could just kind of paint in that area. So again, this way, working with layers in the mask that way. Okay. And I did kind of lie. I said there was one more, but we're just going to do, I'm going to call this pattern. And there's two T's in pattern. Okay. And if you look, they're just white. So we're going to go with kind of like an off white, something that's not so bright. And we'll just come in here and we'll just paint in our pattern. And once we get this nice color-based foundation going, we can start putting in lights and shadows. Now, it does not matter which order you do that in. If you want to do um, your lights first or your shadows first, it doesn't matter, honestly. Some people just have personal preference. They like to see where their shadows are first before they start adding in the lights. And other people start with the lights. And me, I'm hit or miss. Honestly, it just depends how I'm looking at it and what I want to do first. Which I think for this image, I'll probably start with the lights first. Again, I'm just going through and filling in this pattern. see a little spot down here on the dress that I missed. Just fill that in real quick. Come back up to pattern, use my color picker by holding Alt, and we can go back to working in the patterns. And if you notice, I didn't draw like perfectly shaped stars and moons. It's not that serious, you know, but if you wanted it to look really good, you could have just probably like imported a star shape, moon shape, and a diamond shape, and just kind of traced over them if you wanted it to be absolutely perfect. Again, keep finding these spots on the dress that I missed somehow. Back to the pattern. Now for the pattern thing, I am not going to make a mask for. But if you did want to do a different color, you could create a mask. And we are done. Okay. So now we have everything set up, right? So the reason why we work in layers again is now if I wanted to do a light layer, so we're going to say lights, right? I can now do whatever I want and it'll affect all the layers below it. So we're going to pick we're going to go for like a very light purpley tint. Okay, and you'll see why when I'm done. This is where you can start using your lasso tool, right? So if I wanted to come in here and just make sure I highlight all these areas that are going to, be in the light, I can come in here and kind of draw out my areas that are going to have light to them. So we just use this for now, just for an example. I'm going to take the negative part. You hit this is minus, it'll take it back out. And let's add a little bit more right there to the eye. And we're going to get like the top part right here of the eye. I want to make sure that this piece is going to get some light. Okay. And then just kind of think about the way the face is shaped. And practicing your lighting will help with that. Certain sections. Of the lip. Even some parts of the chin here. And what I'll do is we'll go ahead and show you. I'm just going to switch to an airbrush. If you don't have an airbrush, you can download one for free. So you can see how what that does is it adds light to the image, right? And this is just an example. We're not gonna like use this. We're gonna look at the different layers, right? So we have lighten layers, color dodging, overlays, soft light, hard light, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go to a lighten layer. Let's see what happens. And change this to more of a sunlight color and bring the opacity down. Okay, so that's what would work with lights. Now I'm going to delete that. I just kind of wanted to show you, um, how to do that. But I personally, with this one, I'm going to start with the shadows first. Okay, but it's going to be the exact same method. I'm going to come down here to kind of like that purpley color, but we're going to put like a tint of black in there. Okay, so let's just see what it looks like. That'll work. Okay, so again, I can come in here and I can draw out my shadows. With my lasso tool. Okay, same thing here, like above the eyebrow. Get that in. Do this like lower back half. And come out the forehead. Okay. Then we can kind of come out here. Actually, we'll leave that front side of the head alone, but like inside the hair here, on the overlap part, I want to make sure that's in there. Underneath the chin here. And we'll kind of get a little part of the mouth. Again, we could probably just connect that. Okay, same thing with like this side of the nose. You notice I'm not going above the eyelid or this exposed part. And we're going to kind of get in that piece there. Okay, again, probably this lower half of the eyebrow as well. Just make sure that's in there. It's kind of like underturned part of the hair, and get that. And then we'll do like the rest of the hair later. Same thing here. The hair is kind of turning out. So my darkened area, it'll include that as well. Okay, so let's see with a test run what it looks like. I'm going to increase my brush size. Okay, and get my Command D to get rid of that. And you can see it's kind of added in a shadow, right? Now it is a very hard line shadow, and I can see certain areas. So if I wanted to go back and clean some of it, I just hit Command Z and come back to my lasso tool and get those areas that I missed, any parts that I want to add or take away. That would be the time to do it. So let's take away the lip part. D, got a shadow in there. I kind of missed. Go back again. Sorry, I'm missing some spots. Kind of get that in there. Oops, make sure that I'm on inside of there. Let's see, bring in this part of the face. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so let's paint that in. So there's something about the face area. Let's change. Let's go back on that, and let's cut down into that some. See what that looks like. It's a little better. Yeah, so we'll go with that. Alright, and then you can just start working around other areas. So like inside the ear here, you can make that dark. You also have probably this in there too. Make sure you're back on the positive so you don't lose what you're working with. Maybe this bottom side, the ear there, and then we can kind of pick up that top edge right down in here. This should all be dark. Let's get the back end of the earring. And since it's tiny, you don't have to do so much to it. Like this one's actually flat, so I'm going to leave that be. And again, we can just kind of come in, check and see what it looks like. Let's take out this back area, like that. And this inside. Let's see what that looks like. Come out. Yeah, we'll keep that like that. Okay, and now we can work in other parts. Obviously we have this bottom area here. We'll make sure we keep that selected where it's supposed to be. Okay, we're on minus. Sorry about that, y'all. Trying to make sure I keep it as even as I can. Let's bring this down some more. Okay, same thing inside. Not really messing with the hair just yet. We're gonna get this inside area here. Okay. See what that looks like. Okay. So we're just going to slowly go through and start adding in our lighting pattern on there. Certain places like where the hair is sitting on top, you have to be careful when you get down into these areas. Let's go back. I want to make sure that you don't accidentally go up into places that you're not ready to shade yet. Okay, like this part down in here. That'll get some shadow. And then we can just kind of thinly run that down the side. And then if I've gone outside, I need to be careful because I don't want the shadow to show up out there. And we'll just come around in here and continue to make our way. Since this is a fold, we're going to have that down in there. Let's actually bring this in right there. Okay, and continue this down the arm. And we're not going for like a super fancy shading, just enough to give us a sense of shadow for the picture. Okay, maybe right here. Let's go like this, cut that back, let that come out. And we'll add that whole side there. Now you can see where this overhang is on the hand. We're going to want to add that. So we want that to be included with shadow. And we can have this more naturally flow in a rounded shape. And then back here on the fingers, we'll have that connect there. And we'll just work those shadows in that way. Okay, so let's pull that back. Looks good. Now we do want, like, all this in here is going to get shadowed in as well. So we can go ahead and get this area and just connect that with the thumb and then run down the finger and get that whole back end that way. Make sure you don't leave anything out. Okay. Now we can view this as something we can leave solid, dark with the shadow. But let's take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, hit Command D. Oops, let's go back. Let's do one more pass. Okay. So that looks good like that. So we'll just leave that be. and then we can start working in the other parts of the body. Okay, so let's do like here under the dress. We definitely want that edge, because again, it is laying over the top. Make sure we go in and stay on the lines with this. Okay. We'll just follow that back. To here. Okay. And then we also want to give some shadow down in here. Sorry, I apologize, y'all. I have shaky hands, so it's hard for me to draw straight. It is a impairment that I've just had to deal with. Um, so it makes me have to kind of go over things a couple times and make sure they're okay. Now I'm going to keep it really thin because this is out on top. Keep a really thin line there. And kind of get a little bit right here. And let's kind of, oops, I'm going to go back, do that again. I'm just going to kind of round that back and add that to it. It's always good to check. You don't have to do the whole thing. You can always check and see what it looks like. So we got some shadow in there. And this will stand out more once we put a background to it. Okay, so let's come in here. We're going to get that same amount of distance. Add that in there. Again, we want a slight ridge over the top. And again, this is just one of many different ways that I draw and color things. So if you go back on the channel, you can find some other methods too if you didn't like this one. But this is just the one that I'm going with for this particular design. And again, you'll see why we're choosing the purple. It may kind of throw it off a little, but there's a reason. A reason for everything. Okay. Now let's hit up this bottom area here. Okay. Now we're going to have to be careful. We're going to get as close to this line as we can. just adding in these little crease parts to help. Okay, so we want to go all the way down the edge of the dress here. Oops. Do that. Whole back leg like that. So let's zoom out and see how much we got. Okay, we're going to bring this out just a tad. Okay, then I'm going to go down here. Again, we have this overlapping of the dress, so I want to make sure I get that with the legs. Let's add that in there. Round that off. Just get this underside. Okay. Looks good. And now we want to take things down the leg. Actually, let's do this for now, because I don't want the skin to change as much as the actual dress itself. So I'm just going to leave the skin out for now. We'll go ahead and paint that in. Okay. Oops. Just hit Command D. Now I'll take that off of there. And watch. You're going to see in a minute here, once we're done, why I got it set on negative again, or the takeaway. So we're going to change the opacity on this shadow layer, and then that's going to allow for a little bleed through of the original colors to kind of blend it in. Okay, so again, we're just going to kind of come down the back of the leg and build off the shape. I have a tiny shadow right there. Build off the shape of this calf. Okay, and then we're just going to continue down the back side of the leg. Bring in the other one that we can see over here. Okay, I want to kind of build off a foot shape here. Kind of curve that in. Again, this is an overlap. Again, excuse my shakiness. I picked the positive. There we go. Alright. Okay, I do want to kind of build up an ankle shadow shape to just kind of show the back side of the ankle. Okay, and down here on the foot, again, we have this kind of overlay down here into the toes. And then just like these bottom parts of the toes, we can kind of add a little shadow to. And our big toe on the other side. And then to give it a little bit more form, we can give it kind of a back edge here, like this. So kind of look like that. Okay. Now we do have a slight. Alright, we're going to get all of this back part of the sandal. Okay, but then we're going to get this part here, just so that we can see the shadow cast from the foot with that little bit of overhang. But then to a point, we can come back and just get that bottom shadow right in there. So this whole area too will be included. Alright. So again, let me just kind of paint over that. Hit Command D. And again, we have our shadows on there. So now we can worry about this front part. I always tend to save the hair for last just because there's so much detail to it. So that's why I'm waiting on that. Okay, so again, we can kind of bring this out and come down. Now it's going to be a little different this time. We're not going to fill in the whole thing black because it's not turned away. Right, so I can still get this part right here. And then what we'll do is we're going to leave a slight opening of where some sunlight would be entering into the sleeve. Okay. Just kind of curve that out like that. Let's also add in a little bit on these folds. Okay, let me just color that in. And then we can hit up the fingers and the hands on this one. Okay, so we're going to kind of come down here. Okay, you can get this little bit right there, these entire, and we're going to have to erase that out, that color. Include that back area there, and leave a little bit exposed just on the edge. Cover that entire back finger. Okay, same thing here. And we're going to get that right Okay, so let's come back. Got that. Now before I forget, I'm gonna pick my eraser tool. I'm gonna go down the skin, and we're gonna erase that out, and then go down to the base and erase that. Come back up to my shadows. Okay, so all that leaves for us to do now is the hair. Okay, so all we have to do is just kind of follow the sunlight in the direction that we've done. Okay, so we don't have to go too detailed, too crazy. Certain parts, that would be exposed, right? These front hairs. And here we kind of have like an overlay right in there. Again, my hand kind of shook, so I went outside. Okay, and then just have that kind of come down. And we can fill in this whole back area. Okay, and just kind of have that curve out. Because this is starting to break around the shoulder. So we can have that be on the shadow as well as this section here. But I can kind of take this back and like not expose that part. I can do the same thing here. Just kind of knock it back just a little bit. Make sure I stay within my lines. Same thing with this lower half. We can take that back. And include all that. And that. And then we'll do one more. Just need to clean this up a little. Make sure that's on the line. Fill that in. This whole back area. You notice I'm going around that earring. Make sure it does not get included. Okay. Now, other things like the front side of this one, we can give that an edge like that. This is a little bit exposed, so we're going to kind of cut that in half. Include that in there, but just make sure that if it disappears from the line, you bring it back in. Okay, same thing. And kind of add in our shadows here. And let's see, I'm going to get some exposure right here. Same thing here. And just kind of, actually we can make that a little bit more loose and on a jagged side. just a little bit right there. And then just finish adding this back area. Okay, I'm gonna have a slight shadow here. Very slight shadow right in there. And then down here in these lower regions where the bend is, we'll have a shadow, and then we hit the underside of these hair pieces. It's kind of come out. That. And let's give it a look. Let's see how we did. And that's not bad. It's not bad at all. Okay. So now we have that. I'm going to come all the way down here to the bottom. I'm going to add a new layer. We're going to say background. Okay, I'm going to go down to black first. I'm going to go to paint brushes. I'm going to try to find something in the regular set that we can use. Let's do. Now you should have these dry media brushes. Let's go for this Ultimate Kyle's Pastel black right now. Kind of increase the size. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, go back to my brush tool. Okay, so we're just going to fill this in. A solid color for now. I might eat up your computer a little bit and lag behind, but it'll catch up eventually. So you can like just release, let it fill in. Okay. And then what I'm slowly going to do is we're going to start working our way out. To that purple that we have. And this is not like a particular design background. It's just going to kind of fade in to what we have. Kind of make her pop a little bit more. And then we'll go in and add some lighting. Okay. And we're just going to keep getting brighter. As we get closer. Again, this is personal choice. You don't have to do this kind of background. You can do whatever kind of background you want. Again, we'll just get lighter and lighter as we go. And you may be wondering why I chose purple. Well, kind of contrasts with the colors that we have. I'm going to bring this up some more. And I can just use my color picker. And we can expand this out. So I want it to go up to the head a little bit more. just make the whole thing that solid color right there, and then we can expand out just a little bit. And I'm just going with a circular pattern. You can do whatever you want. You can crisscross, whatever. It's up to you. I want it to get brighter as we get closer to her. So for this last pass, it'll be like super bright, and we'll just go around the edge of her body. Okay, now we want to come up to our shadow layer. Alright, and we're going to take the opacity down to 82%. Okay, it gives it a nice even blend over everything. Alright, and the last thing we have is adding in like a light onto our image. Okay, so there's different ways we can approach this. Let's go back to just our regular brush. We can take a really light purple there, create a new layer, and we'll say lights. And then what I want to do is come down here and click on my base layer. Again, just to make sure I don't go outside too much. Hit Command, pick the mask, and put it on that layer of the lights. Okay? So, let's come in. Let's shrink our brush size down. Right. Now we can do a solid line. Just on the outsides here. And having that mask allows us to stay close to the line without going outside of it. Okay, and that'll give us like a massive highlight. Right, so if we zoom out and look at it, you can see it's creating this nice little highlight ridged on the edge here. So like we could do right here. Take that down. Like I said, we're just hitting up the outer edge. There should just be a slight light right there. Get this outer edge of the dress. Like that. Okay. So we can see how that looks. It adds in a nice little glare on there. Or I guess the better word would be like a rim light. Just add that. And we'll get a little bit of a rim light in here. Like I said, this is just the method I'm using just here for this particular image. It's not a method that you have to utilize. Okay. So now we have that. Let's see if there's any other areas. Probably going to need to get the hand. And if you notice, I'm just staying towards the outer portion of a particular side of the body. Okay, I'm not going to go back and do like the hands on the inside, like her right hand, just because it's farther, away from where the light's coming from. So the effect we're trying to get won't be there. But like down here on the knee, so again, this is just another method or color style you could choose to do. So we'll hit up this. A little bit on the front right here. Extend that. Okay. So again, you can see how that's added a slight glare in there. Other places would be the outside edge of this hair right here. Just a couple of pieces here. Not all of it, maybe a slight part of the edge here. Okay, you can definitely put it on our metallic surface just to give it a little bit. So I'm going to shrink that down and just get the very, very edge of it. And it'll give it a nice little metallic look. Like if somebody was to zoom in, they could see it. Other spots here on the edge of the face. Lips. Which we are not done with yet. We obviously have to come back. So again, if I come out, let's see what we have here. Okay, so now let's come in and we're going to add another layer. Actually, what I'll do is we'll just go on the skins layer. And we could do a normal lip color, or we can make it, because let's see, she's kind of got like a pink tone on there, so I guess we just do like a normal lip color. And just color that in pink. She has pink lipstick on. Now, I was thinking more along the lines of going with like a green lipstick. So let's just see what that looked like if we did a matching lipstick color with the hair. Actually, I like that a lot better. A lot better. Okay. So we're going to stick with that for the lips. Um, we could play around with a couple things and come in here to the shadows. And come back to that purple tone. Let's do a soft round. Let's just see. What a little bit of shadow would look like. On the lips. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Looks pretty good. We can leave that like that. Now, some other things you could play around with would be like I could add a new layer in here, right? And we could do the paint bucket and go to the gradient tool, right? And I could come down and place a gradient over it and do like an overlay, soft light, whatever. You can kind of, pick and choose your poison there. Um, the one thing that I would do first, though, is we would pick that same command, pick that same mask, and put that in there. Now, when I do it and I bring it in, it's only going to fill her in on there. So you could do one of two things. You could just kind of, fade it. Again, we could go to like an overlay and fade it down that way. So what we'll do is I'm actually going to go from the bottom up. So we're lighter on the top. But let's go for more of, we got different kinds that we can use. Let's stick with the purples. We'll go with this one. Come up. Again, we can take that down. And what that'll do is just help add a little bit to the image. Let's see, we'll do about 25, see what that looks like. So see, that's kind of helped it go with the background a little bit. Let's come back to our shadow layer. See what happens if we take that down some more. Always, let's see if we do overlay the shadow, soft line. Let's see, multiplies too dark. Let's see what a diffuse one will look like. A difference. Shadow. We'll take that down to 82. Let's do 50. Let's see what that does. I don't know. Kind of liking that overlay. Switch that back to 82. Okay, and that's gonna do it. Okay, so thank you for stopping by. I hope you learned something. We're kind of experimenting as we go. Again, this is just a method of doing it. You don't have to use this method. It's just one of many. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun. Thank you for submitting your picture to me to, try to redesign myself and what I think it, would look like. Anybody else wants to do that, that's fine. Hit me up. I'll redraw your characters. However, other than that, keep on sketching and have a great day, y'all. All right, bye.